Welcome everybody back to the channel. We just got back from the finale of BBCAN6, so we have a lot to talk about in this video. And before I do that, I just wanted to introduce a special guest to me, which is my beautiful mother here, Jennifer. She's been watching this season for how long now?
Well, I've been watching Big Brother ever since, well, the US, since the very second season, but I watched the first season in reruns, and then Big Brother Canada, for sure, I've been watching that ever since it started.
Yeah.
So I haven't missed an episode of Big Brother.
But this is your first time at
a live episode, so yeah.
Yeah, so what were your thoughts on it?
Wow, I have to say, what an experience, and I would tell people I recommend trying it at least once. Mm-hmm. I know your face will hurt a lot after smiling, and your hands, a lot of clapping. Yeah. But I have to say it was a really interesting way of seeing how a production is pulled together for these shows. And I have to say it's a really good, tight crew that they have, and it was entertaining the whole way through. Mm-hmm. I felt comfortable, and I felt even the energy of the audience really enhanced the viewing experience.
It really did. I think a lot of the viewers the other fans that were there, definitely made a big impact on the game itself there, with the house guests. And also I think that in the taping they were actually highlighting a bit more of the production crew that was there. So they had even a couple of the arts department come out. That's and right. They were putting the keys inside the
little voting circle area, box. Yeah. And but I guess to start from the first part, when we went there, we had to go there a little early because we knew with the finale that there were going to be a lot of people wanting to get in. So you lined up a couple hours before. Yep. I came a little bit after, knowing that there are some washroom restrictions. I was a little concerned if I was going to be able to hold out. I'm not as young as these guys here, but I was able to hold out in 8 hours of taping. But meeting the other fans in line, and being able to just have that water cooler chat with them, it was so fun, because usually you're just talking to your family. Don't usually bring up Big Brother at work so much, because you have to work. But there you felt free to talk about things, and you connected immediately with these other people that you never, you don't even know their name, but you're able to have a shorthand with them, talking about game strategy, the characters, what you liked, what you didn't like. And so I felt like I was in a group of people that I could connect with. Yeah,
definitely. And that was consistent with what it was like for me at the first live taping. I just spoke with the people in front of me, and I talk a little bit about this in some of my earlier videos, so check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, it's definitely something where it doesn't matter what kind of economic class you're from, or your background, whatever you believe in, but it's something that brings you together, and you can have like hours of conversation with someone that you've never met before, from just having watched the game. Yeah.
And when we're waiting, of course, when you're taping these live shows, I didn't realize how many segments they have to film and sort of cut together. And so the production and the entertainment during that time, it was Philip, who was he was really funny. And I mean, that self-deprecating humor, I just love it. And I only wish I could have heard more, because sometimes the audience was laughing, you couldn't catch everything, but he really made the time go by fast. I mean, we were there for about 3.5 hours of taping, and almost the in-between bits were more fun, because it was so it was engaging, but it was different stuff. He walked around the audience and asked questions and got people involved, got to know some of the audience. So I have to say a big shout out to him for that. Yeah, and from watching, I've seen a few of the live tapings, and he actually remembers some of the people's names throughout the entire throughout the entire taping. And then sometimes he'll even reference them in later ones, and you're like, if you've been there before, you'll like, he definitely spoke on that. So it was really good, because I felt like there was no dull moments, even though we were during the commercial breaks and a lot was happening production wise, but he was there and he was engaging from the moment you entered the door
from the moment you leave.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that I really appreciate from Philip.
Yeah. Well, you know what? What also surprised me, and you know when you see these shows and they come out at the end and they're like, "Oh my God, you look more beautiful in person." You know, they say to Arisa, and it's so true.
Yeah.
Like seeing her up there, I mean, she is really beautiful, and I couldn't believe her standing up there for 3.5 hours in this gold lame dress, these high heels, and she did not once sit down. She entertained the audience with singing, got some other people to get involved, was you know, engaging with the other past participants, and you could see she had a real, genuine a connection with the past contestants. And she said, even I saw her mouthing to say, you know, it's all about you. This isn't my show. This is all about the cast. So it was really, I have to say, very, very exciting. Yeah,
and I mean, you would expect Arisa to be a super fan of the show, and I think in between the commercial breaks, when she actually has a chance to talk with the audience, you can see how much she's like retained throughout the previous seasons, because she'll start referencing stuff and then I was like, oh my God, I almost forgot about that, right? But it's such like on the tip of her tongue, like all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I noticed when, you know, they obviously have teleprompters to guide the script of the show, but seeing some of the prompts that she had, they were just a few words. It wasn't even a full sentence. And the ability for her to just create these questions and really engage authentically with the contestants, because depending on their answer, you could see she was really listening to what they said and not just going by a script of, okay, I got to ask this question, that question. So I can see it takes a considerable talent to be able to do that physically, mentally, and just also emotively connect.
And not to mention the game of expect the unexpected is not just in the house, it's for her too. When she's doing these questions with the evicted house guests and, you know, the jury, like she's not, she's engaging with the answer to where she, you know, she'll talk off script, right? So she'll have to improvise a little bit, and I think she does a really good job at that. And
did you see there was one point where I think one of the cameramen kind of fell down while she was talking? And she just like totally went through, and I was like, oh my God, the cameraman fell over and just kept going and not a break whatsoever. So
so this is interesting because some of the people who are watching this video right now aren't going to know it, but from our angle, we saw it right up in center.
He was tripped up in the mic or the cords or something while he was...
I believe it was when Arisa was first starting to speak with Ryan. And then that's when Ryan was saying it was something loud, and that was pretty loud, and that's what he was referencing as one of the cameramen that was just reeling in the line for the person with a gimbal, like the huge thing. So that's two of the live tapings I've gone to where a person's tripped over. You know, Rosina in the first live eviction, when she was coming down the stairs and she was just like, hey, and then she just fell right off of the first step. They just need to get a ramp. I think, you know, you're gonna have these people that need wheelchairs by the end of the season. Well, Johnny. When we
came
saw
in,
him.
with the hobbling in on his crutches. So I thought that's a repeat of like the U.S. season when
Christmas.
Christmas broke her. Like I'm thinking, oh my God, who was he piggybacking in the jury?
Right. So apparently the story behind that was he was jumping off of some
walls.
Like what? I guess they're really bored up in the jury house to just start doing some gymnastics type exercise. So what were some of the other big takeaways that you had from...
Well, you know, I have to say, when I'm looking at the show now, and you see all the people that are involved, and I know that, you know, we probably are familiar, like putting a movie together, and that there's a lot of moving parts in it. But to do a live show and to know that they've got to put this out like literally an hour and a half after we've left the studio, it really amazes me, and it shows me probably there's people working, you know, a lot of hours doing this. So it, I don't know if I'd really, you know, sometimes you think about, oh, it'd be interesting to be in the entertainment industry, but there seems to be a lot of waiting. There's a lot of technical details. You have to be really precise on times, and so it gives you a different flavor of. It's not all the glamour and glitz that you see at the finished production. And true. Even looking at some of the props on the set, I think it was a great looking set. But when you see it on TV, you don't see some of the rougher edges.
Right.
And I think maybe it's because even sometimes if you had something very authentic or real on there, it might not even come off as polished on the TV screen. So it's the medium itself really translates differently when you're sitting live versus behind the, on the couch at home. Yeah,
because even like say the walls, from just being a casual viewer, I would have thought, oh, maybe that's like some interesting screen that they have or whatever, and then you look up and then you see it's just these very high definition projectors that are projecting the images, and that's how they're able to change the different colors. So because I think the second last episode, it was mainly like a red theme, right? So that's how they're able to do something like that very quickly. But yeah, it's very interesting to just see the behind the scenes of it.
Yeah.
And I think we're only seeing maybe a quarter of it from the live tapings, but what you do see is really amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, about the episode today, so I mean, I think, but based on when you hear the audience reaction, I know there seemed to be a strong pull for Paris in this episode, but so I was wondering, even as well, we didn't know about what the result would be because we watched the two the two competitions leading up to the final before we were able to see that live event. And I was a little bit worried because the past couple of weeks I thought, oh boy, it sounds like, Kayla and Derek are on a steamroll and it's going to be anticlimactic. But boy, did it ever. I think the payoff was for the BBCAN fans. Yeah. The right person won. I mean, they all did great work, all the cast members. But I think Paris, we talked about this back when we were watching the first two episodes, and I felt Paris was going to be, I wanted to pick her because I liked her strategy going in. Yeah. She was going to play it low-key. Yeah. She wasn't going to go for the showmance, and I mean, she's a credible-looking girl. She could have probably done any kind of showmance, with either Erica or the guys. And so I feel like she played with integrity, and at the end, when she did her speech, I guess you can see why she's going to be in law school, right? Yeah. She knows how to present, and she really won me over even more at that point. And I think you could see the jury felt that same way.
Yeah, exactly. I think she won those competitions that she needed to, especially it was the last three of them, right? So she came out with the wins. So it wasn't just solely, I played a strong social game, but she also added in the physical challenges, right? So
and the mental challenges too.
Which was at the end,
really on point for that.
So I thought that was amazing that she could add that to her story, and you could, I don't know how it's going to play out because we're still yet to watch the TV episode version. Yeah. But when we were in the audience, you could truly feel the energy of the crowd was really rooting for, it seemed like the underdog of Paris. Yeah. When she was winning those challenges, everyone was just clapping hard. I've never heard cheering as loud as when Paris won those competitions. And then when she was doing those speeches, it was just we couldn't hear some of the end of it because everyone was just screaming and cheering at the very last probably 10-20 seconds of her speech. Yeah. So I'm interested to see what the episode will look like too when we finally get a chance to hear exactly what she said. Yeah. Because that is one thing I do think at the live experience, because I guess the way they mic them at home, you do get to hear every word. And I have to say, when Will talks, I still need the subtitles. So all the things he said, very endearing guy. I'm sure he had some really funny things to say, but I almost needed the subtitles. So we'll have to see that tonight. And it was really interesting. She was just so energetic with it. You could see her, she was just getting into the camera almost. And I have to say, I think that when the jury was hearing everyone just cheering for Paris, it seemed like, I don't know if it, like, because I don't know what their, who they were going to vote for before this,
yeah.
but I do remember one of the jury members saying that they were going to vote individually and that it was going to be likely split up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end, when they counted it, and I'm not sure if this is going to be aired in the episode, but it seemed like everyone but Derek.
It was, because Arisa pulled them out after. But again, we couldn't hear because we were all cheering at the end when I guess she pulled out the last
so
3.
What I'm wondering is, do you think that maybe the cheering could have played a little bit of an influence?
Well, you know, I think no. For the one reason is that Kayla, she did play a great game. Yes, she was a tough competitor. She seemed ruthless, and she looked like she was going to be the type of person to say, like, hey, I cut the showmance to win this, and that's how hard a player I am. Like, I can literally take my heart out of it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when she made that last speech, I found she was just a little too hard on her competitors. Almost like saying, like, I really, like, took you guys down, and that's why you ought to give it to me. And as opposed to talking about how she may have been strategic in her play, I think she belittled her other contestants a tiny bit when she was talking about sort of, you know, beating them. And so I think you still have to think about the fact that some of these people have just, you know, they've been in you know, in this jury house, they haven't heard anything, and so they still may be brewing on the fact that, wow, you know, I got kicked out. So their feelings might still be a bit sensitive, and they might not have had enough distance from the game to sort of say, like, oh, okay, yeah, I know, she played a great game, and say they still have their emotions in it.
So you do think that it could be a little bit of a bitter jury?
I think there were a few, and you know, the idea that she had a showmance to help her towards the end is always, you know, people see that as an advantage, right? Because you always have like a protector, that somebody that can flip the head of household power the next week for you, so you always have that protection. And that's what happened towards the end. They were able to sort of back each other up when it was crucial. I mean, it is a great strategy, but at the same time, it does mean that you're working with someone else, and Paris was pretty much alone towards the end there. And you know what she was also very strategic about is getting Kayla to, like, I think about taking her instead of Derek. And I think she did that subtly, and she appealed to Kayla's I think ego, and saying like, you know, 2 girls, and you know, and this is, and even pumped her up to sort of, I think, even say like, yeah, I'll cut Derek. But she planted, I think, a little bit of that idea in her mind. And that's what a good lawyer does, I bet, too. When they're talking about, you know, trying to influence a jury around, you know, a defendant or maybe the plaintiff, whoever they're defending, they'll be able to sort of do that in a way that they're not articulating it, so that the others will...
well, I mean, she could obviously add that to her own resume of, like, being able to influence a Big Brother Canada jury, so maybe she'll be able to bring that to the court system.
Well, maybe, hopefully I'll never have to need her services, but it sounds like she'd be a good person and whenever she does pass school.
Exactly,
gets through there. So like, you've been covering this whole season, and I just feel like, you know, you've invested a lot in, you know, analyzing what's going on. What did you think, what surprised you the most about this season?
Well, what surprised me the most was maybe on just like a creator aspect for this, about how many people I would meet throughout doing these videos. So I've met some of the people that follow my videos actually in person at these live tapings. It's also gotten me to, you know, become better as a filmmaker. I feel like I've been better since the day one. I'm now able to look through my own videos and reflect on what I thought in the first week of the season as opposed to now. I can say that my favorites did not make it to the end. I usually root for an underdog, so I think, you know, it's pretty apparent that they go out. Yeah,
that's true. And, you know, and then the ones that really stir the pot, they the entertainment value they bring is great. The only thing is the risk is they got to go big or they go home, and a lot of times they go home. So it's unfortunate because Hamza and Paris were the two that I had wanted. So I'm glad that Paris pulled through, but Hamza, I would have loved to have seen a lot more about him. Veronica was interesting because, you know, at first I wasn't sort of like, I don't know, I wasn't sort of connecting with her. But then when I saw the way she played, and she seems to have a sense of humor about herself.
She does.
Like, she doesn't take herself that as seriously as maybe some of the other players would. So that's what I appreciated about when she was in the house. She was able to do a little bit of, and even just her, she has some good emotions for the camera. That's
when she did that little like devil thing. That was pretty funny. No, there's some great house guests this season, I thought, personally. I mean, a lot of the viewers sometimes have like a different perception on that, but I do think at the end of the season they start to grow on me, and I don't really feel that in the beginning, but as the season progresses I get more and more into each of them. Well, you know what, there are some psychological studies that show that the more you are around people, the better looking they become over time, right? So in fact, like if people in your class at school or whatever, you see them every day. And with Big Brother, the same thing. At the end of the show, I'm looking at these people, I'm like, even Ryan looked amazing. I mean, he lost 35 pounds, but I'm so used to looking at his face that I thought, like, it grows on you. It's like a friend, and you start to really appreciate the cuteness of his smile, and and he was a little bit of, he was beat up on a lot, but he again was able to take it like a champ in a way, and being the first person on the jury, I'm glad he made it to the jury, because he did deserve it. He was being not bullied, but you know what I mean. He did seem like on the offside. He
was on the offside, and I don't like it when people are sort of an outsider in these things, and this game is designed to do that, but at the same time there's the human side of you that wants to make sure everyone gets along, but then you get entertained when they all don't get along, right? No, and I think you're right about Ryan, because even when I was watching some of the extra footage that they put on the Big Brother Canada website, it seemed like he was a bit more quiet, whereas when you have like, the ding-dongs in there and Johnny, like these people are loud, right? So like they have a lot of energy, whereas you see, even when Ryan was in these house meetings, he just kept his cool, and he was just sitting there like, no, I didn't do that, that type of thing. So he can really keep his cool, and I think that just is because he's so natural at that, right? But yeah, overall, like, it was a great season. I can't wait to capture more of it as well, like going into the US version, and then hopefully with season 7. So they have a season 7. They haven't confirmed that though yet, have they? No,
and a lot of people, I think every single taping that I go to, the question is asked, is there going to be another season? And the answer that they give, and I think it's very honest, is that they're not sure.
Yeah. I guess it depends. I'm not sure how those things work because I don't work in TV, but I guess it's lining up, people that are going to, be advertisers of that. I think they did really good promotional tie-ins for the show. Like the Wendy's, like I have to tell you, I crave Wednesdays every time I was watching that episode and they got the stuff delivered. The only thing, it was so late at night I couldn't eat a Baconator at that time of night, but I kept thinking about it. The other thing is, what I really like about Big Brother Canada, I think they have better game designers than they do in the US version. The game sets, the types of challenges they do, like very inventive, very creative, and even when they do have a promotional tie-in, they do it in a way that doesn't make it seem like it's just an extended commercial for the product.
It's true.
So I like that, and I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to know like what type of background even the people who do that game design, like are they like instructional designers, or do they come from like a creative industry like video gaming or something to figure out how to build these strategic things?
So I've followed a few of the people that are in production, and from what I've seen in the behind the scenes, they have like even a whole boardroom where they go through it and they discuss it.
Like a war room.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I think actually Trevor Boris, who does the voice of Marsha, also assists in the challenges, and that's what he was saying in one of the live tapings when he was taking questions.
Yes.
And I think he also works on some of the U.S. Challenges, but I'm not sure if he actually is the one to create them or if he's the one testing it or what kind of role he plays in it. But he does assist with some of them. And yeah, it was...
Well, that first challenge they had for the, to go to the head of household, the first of the 3 challenges with those gold discs.
Yeah.
Wow, I would have been so frustrated. And the tension, we still didn't find out how long that that whole challenge took from end to end. But I can imagine that could have been, it looked like it could have been hours, like at some point, because of the way those things kept spilling over, and I think it was cleverly edited to just keep that. I could feel my heart sort of beating, and then of course the audience erupting every time like somebody's discs fell, and either like whoa or cheering, and
my heart was racing, and it kept going like, oh my gosh, Kayla might win. Oh no, Derek might win, and then Paris might win. Like, it just kept going back and forth. So I think that was a really good challenge to integrate into like the last, some of the last challenges that we have, because it was so dramatic. I liked the fact that when they did the sudden death for Paris, I like the fact they did that instead of doing like one of those chalk numbers, like calculate and get who gets the highest or lowest, because I feel sometimes that's just a luck thing. So I like that sudden death approach, and it was appropriate for a finale to make sure that really the best player won, and it wasn't just the luck of not being able to multiply 5 numbers together. Because I'm not sure if everyone's keeping track of like I don't know if that's really something you can keep track of, is like, oh, how many times did Maddie or whatever go over the barrel in that one fishing competition, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's really something you could keep track of, whereas like maybe something else a bit more.
And I guess they have to do that not knockout, but the chalkboard one during the main season, because otherwise if they did sudden death, it could go on very long, and you don't want to end up, the show needs to have like some cutoff point to make sure that they move on to the next stage. And if they have like 3 or 4 people at the final stage, you could be going on forever with a sudden death on that. So anyway, so I think I am looking forward to Big Brother US, because I like the reality game show. I feel reality games, they teach you a lot about life, and I worked in organizational development. I'm working in strategy right now, but the idea of like how group dynamics work, I feel like, and I've told you before, like I said, there are a lot of lessons you can learn about how to get along with people, and also what it is that makes a good friendship, teamwork. How do you communicate well with people, and really at the end, how do you sell yourself into getting to that next level, like a promotion, or in this case winning the game. So if from like an intellectual perspective or just life lessons, I'd love to see more videos around things around how people, what lessons could you take to the workplace, or to your social life, or to building your skills to it is a bit as a contained environment, but there's still things that you could transfer into the real world analogies. Yeah,
definitely. And I think it teaches you a lot of that, right? Like, I've definitely even picked up a few pointers from myself of like, the way that you talk to one person is probably going to be different from the way you talk to another, right? In terms of what you may talk about, how you may talk to them, and those sorts of things, right? So you have to be very adaptable, I think, in this game. And it really presses on like your adaptability, your social skills, your physical skills, and then overall intellect. And when it comes down to it at the very end, your ability as a salesperson to sell yourself.
Yeah, and I think also having empathy for other people too, because that after this game is over, these people go back to their real lives, but what they presented on TV, you want to see that there's a soul in there of these people.
Alright, so I did make a previous video on what to expect at a live audience taping of Big Brother, but I want to hear from you what you think, something you would like to share with someone who is planning on going to their first live audience taping. What do you think that they should know?
Well, bathroom issue is I think number one, because that could be the most critical. So I've been doing intermittent fasting. It actually prepared me quite well for this this day. I didn't eat anything from, it was like 11:30 until we got home at 6:30. So I was my blood sugar was getting low towards the end, but I was able to make it because I was used to not eating anything for that long period of time. Not drinking any water either, or any kind of fluids. It was, I have to say again, it was like doing a little semi-survivor challenge of my own in the audience there. I was just praying that there was going to be no emergency, that I would end up being a focal point of the show, you know, by having to be excused or anything. The other things, I think if you have sore hands or whatever, probably skip the taping that night, because you're doing a lot of clapping. To say, a lot of it was, for me, genuine enthusiasm. So it wasn't like I was like, oh, trying to you know, stuff it out. But because you were clapping so much and you were so excited, my hands were a little bit tingly at the end. So, and then I guess I was smiling a lot. I don't usually smile a lot all day long because I'm usually working. But you know, I do have a fun job, but it's not as fun as, you know, being able to watch other people work. So anyway, that's the other thing. The chairs were pretty comfy, because I was a little scared when I saw. It looked like those chairs that they use at the WWF to, like, you know, hit the wrestlers with. So I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit on a chair that long. But it was actually quite nice. I might look into some just some extra seating at home. I'm trying to think what we sat in the front, so I'm curious to see the playback on how I come off. I know the camera adds 15 pounds. I know nobody's going to care what I look like and never going to know who I am wearing the same stuff now that I was wearing at the taping.
You might be watching
so this. If you see me, just let you know I'm 15 pounds less, and I've been trying to lose weight. So, like, I really want to make sure that weight issue is. It was working against me today. And other than that, though, I think they ran a good show. Oh, they did give us water at the end, because I think they were probably concerned that somebody might pass out, or you know, on the way drive home, you know, from not eating and going to the washroom for that long. Yeah,
definitely, and I understand why they weren't able to, is because if they're to give 400 audience members each a bottle, I'm sure it would just cause for, like, you know, you just hear the crackling of a finished water bottle.
Not to mention, if you have anything that are like, that's not water, like anything that got stuck on the floor, like it would get, you know, juice get sticky or whatever, end up like being a gummy movie theater at the end of the, you know, 10 weeks. That floor, that, you know, the stage, I don't know how many times that Swiffer came out to wipe that up, but Swiffer really got like, I have to say, you know, they should consider advertising with them, because they did a lot of work for that show. That they were Swiffering that thing about every 10 minutes. I think
it's really true.
And then the theater itself, I guess the perspective of size. When you go, when you see things on TV, or even when you watch these shows about home decorating, things always look so different in size when you see it on TV and then when you're actually there. So that surprised me, but it was ample space in there. Temperature was nice. It wasn't. We had a good day actually for waiting outside, but even inside, I didn't feel chilly. Like sometimes these big studios, I feel like could be possibly, you know, a little bit chilly in there. So I really don't think you need to have to prepare too much. I think you just have to prepare to be entertained. And you definitely you'll get that.
All right. Well, you heard it first here. I want to thank everyone for joining in on this video. It was really nice to capture this entire season with you. I still have more content headed your way, so I'm going to be talking about the upcoming season of Big Brother US 20. I can't wait to share the details with you here. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.